When Vanessa Brooks handed her priority boarding pass to the gate agent, she never expected to be redirected to the back of the plane simply because of how she looked. The slight hesitation before calling her name, the dismissive suggestion to wait in economy, and the condescending smirk ignited a familiar determination within her. The same fire that had driven her from the tough streets of West Memphis to the helm of a billion-dollar corporation. What the airline staff didn't realize was that, as of that very morning, Vanessa had become their new boss. Through Titan Energy's acquisition of Skyway International Airlines, she now held the power to redefine their entire workplace culture. Standing in the crowded aisle of Flight 4723, she made a swift decision. This moment wasn't about retribution. It was about setting a precedent. The lesson awaiting the airline crew in Los Angeles would not only reshape their careers, but would also set a new standard for passengers who would never even know her name. The weight of judgmental stares trailed Vanessa as she walked down the jet bridge. Despite leading Titan Energy into a global leader in clean energy, despite signing a $600 million acquisition deal that very morning, despite her impeccably tailored charcoal gray suit, she was still being sized up, not by her achievements, but by assumptions. "Ma'am, you might be more comfortable waiting in economy while we sort this out," the gate agent remarked, barely glancing at her first-class ticket for Seat 2B. Vanessa held her ground. Years of negotiating in rooms where she was often the only woman of color had sharpened her resolve. "My ticket says first class. I booked it 4 months ago," she stated unwavering. A moment later, Evelyn Marsh, the lead flight supervisor, stepped forward. Her short, precisely cut blonde hair and confident stride reflected years of authority in the air. "Ma'am, we have a seating issue," Evelyn said, her tone polite but firm. "I'll need you to wait in economy until we clarify things." That was the third time Vanessa had been dismissed, and each time the excuse had been vague. None of them knew that only hours earlier, Vanessa had signed the final documents making Titan Energy the majority owner of Skyway International. "Of course," Vanessa replied smoothly, slipping into economy while quietly sending a message to her assistant. "Pull flight crew records for 4723. Flag Evelyn Marsh. Connect me with Mark Rendell at Skyway Airlines." She settled into a cramped seat in row 28, placing her earbuds in. "Mark, it's Vanessa Brooks. We need to discuss flight 4723. Evelyn Marsh had spent 3 decades in the airline industry, 17 of those as a senior flight supervisor. She prided herself on knowing who belonged where. When a gate agent flagged a discrepancy with V. Brooks on the manifest, Evelyn had made a snap judgment based on what she later justified as passenger profiling protocols, a term she often used when moving people who didn't fit her unspoken standards. Meanwhile, in first class, Miles Carter, Vanessa's sharp-suited executive assistant, approached Evelyn. He presented a sleek black business card. "Ms. Brooks requests a word with the flight crew, including Captain Reynolds, immediately," he stated. Evelyn frowned. "That won't be possible," Miles interrupted smoothly. "Perhaps you haven't been briefed. As of 7:30 this morning, Titan Energy officially acquired Skyway International Airlines. Ms. Brooks is now your executive superior, and she's requesting a meeting before departure." Evelyn's face paled. She swiftly turned toward the cockpit, realizing the weight of the situation. Throughout the flight, Vanessa observed the crew's interactions. One flight attendant, Jordan Hayes, looked noticeably uneasy about what had transpired. Later, when she discreetly asked for his thoughts, he confirmed her suspicions. "This happens more often than you'd think," Jordan admitted in a hushed tone. "Certain passengers get reassigned without much explanation." By the time they touched down in Los Angeles, Vanessa had already decided on her next steps. This wouldn't be about punishing a few individuals. It would be about overhauling an entire system. Mark Rendell, Skyway Airlines CEO, was waiting in the executive boardroom. Tall, silver-haired, and exuding the confidence of a man used to controlling outcomes, he clearly expected to smooth things over with corporate formalities. "Vanessa, I wasn't expecting such an eventful first day together," he said with a diplomatic smile. When the flight crew entered the room, Evelyn, Captain Reynolds, the gate agent, Jordan Hayes, and a young flight attendant named Mia Park. The tension was palpable. Their expressions ranged from nervousness to outright fear. Vanessa clasped her hands in front of her. "I asked you all here because what happened today isn't just about a passenger mix-up. It's about a culture problem," she began. "I was moved to economy without reason, despite holding a first-class ticket. When I asked why, I was given flimsy excuses about system errors. What's worse, I've seen the pattern before." She let the words sink in. "What you didn't realize was that I had just become your employer. But here's the part that matters most. You shouldn't have needed to know who I was to treat me with basic respect." She turned to Evelyn. "Ms. Marsh, your file shows an impressive tenure, but it also shows a pattern. You've repeatedly reassigned passengers who don't match first-class profiles." Evelyn flushed red, opening her mouth to respond, but Vanessa continued. "You may have gotten away with it in the past, but not anymore. Because this isn't just one incident. It's a reflection of a system that tolerates bias until it becomes a public scandal." She shifted her gaze to Mark. "Mark, when Titan Energy and Skyway finalized this deal, we agreed that integrity, equity, and accountability would define this partnership. Today's events tell me we have work to do." Mark cleared his throat. "Vanessa, I understand your concerns, but surely you're not planning to fire the entire team over. You think I called this meeting to fire everyone?" Vanessa cut in, raising an eyebrow. Relief flickered across several faces. "No," she said. "That would be easy. The harder work is fixing the problem." She outlined her plan: comprehensive anti-bias training. Not a performative online course, but real systemic change. Evelyn would be reassigned to help lead the development of new training protocols. Captain Reynolds would undergo leadership retraining focused on accountability. The gate agent would work with customer relations to rewrite passenger service policies. Jordan Hayes, whose integrity stood out, would serve on a newly formed ethics committee. As for Mark, his role was clear: to ensure these changes weren't just corporate lip service. "The board will want to see a detailed action plan," she concluded. Mark nodded slowly, understanding the unspoken ultimatum in her words. "You have my full support," he assured her. "One last thing," Vanessa added. "I'm not interested in apologies. I'm interested in results." Months later, reports showed a 45% rise in passenger satisfaction. Diverse hiring had increased by 65%. And Evelyn Marsh, once resistant to change, had become an outspoken advocate for fair treatment in the industry. Because true leadership, Vanessa knew, wasn't about punishing individuals. It was about breaking flawed systems and replacing them with something better. And she was just getting started.